Have you been wondering where this simple logo craze has come from? Why are all of these companies opting for super simplified versions of their logo? Isn't this just a fad? Aren't they losing a lot of their personality in these simple marks? Well, I'm going to answer all of those questions in this video, so let's get into it right now. Today we are talking about the concept of simple logos, and before I jump in, I do want to say this is actually the first of hopefully many videos where I get to answer your questions. So this question was posed by Clover Dog Adventures on YouTube. He said, why are companies oversimplifying their logos? I really don't get it. And if you have a question, I would love to make a video about it. So go ahead and shoot me an email, send me a DM on socials, I'll link those down below, or just drop a comment on this video. Now, let's get into your question, okay? So if we're gonna understand where this simple logo trend has come from, we have to first understand a little bit of history about why logos exist in the first place and how they came to be. Branding as we know it today and logo design, they're not at all like what they were a couple hundred years ago. It just continues to evolve. When you think about the first logos, what really happened was it was advertisement artwork that people realized they could associate with their company. During the beginning of the print advertising boom, companies started to realize, hey, instead of just being words in a newspaper, we can start putting imagery and artwork with our advertisements to sell our product. So they started developing characters or an art style, and they realized, hey, if we use the same characters or the same art style, the same personality in all of our advertisements, people start to associate that artwork with our company. This was kind of the beginning of branding, and they started putting the same artwork on their buildings, on their print advertisements, on their products. That was how logos were birthed. It began with companies starting to use consistent artwork and then consistent symbols or characters, and then those turned into the icons for the company. For example, a bank might make an illustration or a piece of art that illustrated what their bank looked like on the front, and then they'd start putting that on everything, and they thought, this is really great. People are seeing an illustration of our bank, and now they're associating that with our actual physical location that they drive by. So what happened? You're probably saying, I get that it was mostly consistent artwork, but what does this have to do with simple logos? Well, as advertising continued to evolve and companies continued to grow, the applications of these icons, these pieces of art that represented their company, became more and more numerous. So here's where this all got started. See, the more you use a piece of art or an illustration to represent something, aka your company, the more recognizable that art piece becomes to the general public, your customers. Now, because you've had all this exposure and it's easy for your audience to recognize, the more elements you can take out and it will still be recognizable. The more elements you can take out, the easier it is to apply that art onto a variety of different things. Simpler equals easier application. So think about this. You used to only be able to print a logo. And maybe you printed it in a newspaper, maybe a poster, eventually you got some wall signs, whatever. Now we have digital and print large to small, digital super small to very large. You've got tiny little fav icons, app icons, you've got your website, you've got logo animations now, plus people with 3D software are now 3D rendering logos. The number of applications for your logo, the number of things that your logo has to be able to do in the market is only increasing, and it will continue to increase the more marketing evolves, branding evolves, advertising evolves. Branding, advertising, marketing as we know it today, it's not going to be anything like what it's going to be in 300 years from now. Who knows what logos are going to look like or be like in 300 years? But what we do know, what we can do, is we can look at history and we can say, well, what's worked and what hasn't worked. And what we see in history is that simple logo marks have worked best. See, there's a very small handful of companies that actually got it right the first time. They created super simple marks, and those are the companies that never had to change their logos. Companies like Nike or Apple. Whereas other companies that opted for 3D logos during the 3D trend, or maybe illustrative logos, they've had to change their logos a lot of times just to apply them to different applications. This is why all of the big companies are trying to simplify their marks. It's why some of the best graphic designers are getting paid a lot of money to make super simple things, because we're starting to understand that a simple mark can take on any form that it needs to, no matter what the future throws at it. Complicated logo marks, they just can't perform the same. They can't take on all of the new, latest and greatest treatments, whatever that might be. But doesn't creating a simple mark lose the personality of your company? Well, no, because companies are starting to understand that they can use personality in lots of ways and associate that with their logo. The personality of your company doesn't depend on your logo art anymore. You can create graphics and other styles and things that reflect the personality of your company while still keeping a very simple mark. Okay, but isn't this just a fad? Aren't we gonna see companies start to shift back to complicated marks as the market gets saturated with simplified logos? Well, I don't think we're gonna see that shift, at least not an effective one, because there is an infinite number of simple logo marks that you can make. And because there's an infinite number, you can always make a unique mark that represents your company in the market space. I think that this isn't just a fad, this is the next phase in branding and logo evolution. Our goal as creatives and brand designers is always to be the most forward thinking we can. We're trying to set the companies up for long-term success. And I believe the best way to do that is to give them simple, versatile logo marks. So if you're a designer that's still creating complicated marks and you think that you're helping your companies, you might be actually doing your clients a disservice. And whether you're making simple marks or complicated marks or somewhere in between, I hope that this video at least helped you understand a little bit about why we're seeing so many simple marks in the marketplace and how we got there. If you enjoyed this content, please drop me a like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you disagree with me on simple logos, go ahead and comment down below and let me know what you think, because I would love to hear your thoughts on logo complexity. In the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next video.